I once had an extroverted roommate who could never understand the hour of quiet, alone time I needed of the world to decompress from taking phone calls all day. I told her I was going into my room and shutting the door, and that no, I was not mad at her, and no, I was not depressed. I just needed some alone time. Almost every day she would knock on my door, then open it. Are you mad at me? What's wrong? Let's go out. Oh, I had to ask her to move out after a couple of months. She just didn't get it, and she told all of our mutual friends how stuck up and moody I was. Amy, I am a teacher, and I know how to turn myself on to teach and interact and lead others, but then I need to turn off to recharge. Once I was introduced to a group of my peers that I was about to present a training to. As a shy person, I hated being called shy because I'm not shy. I just prefer to not speak if I have nothing to say. Jennifer. It's been my experience that people have often thought that I'm not as intelligent as I am. They assume because I didn't contribute to the conversation and just instead to listen and observe that I was dumb. Bonnie. The biggest misconception I have faced as an introvert is that the people think I am not one. Most people in my life really struggle to understand that I have a lot of social anxiety and it actually makes me perform in public like I am extroverted. I cannot be chatty, loud, engaged, but all of it comes from fear, anxiety, and pressure. When I'm really being myself, I'm actually very quiet and reserved. I don't. People say there is no way you are an introvert. You are so good at talking to people. I have worked in many jobs where I have to be on most of the time. Because of this, I know how to do small talk and can do it well. But others do not see what happened when I get home. I have to totally shut down, sometimes for up to an hour, to recharge enough to do tasks at home. It has taken me quite some time to realize that just because I am able to chat does not mean I am an extrovert like people told me, and to realize I need a long time to recharge. And now I know this I can begin to change my work habits and have a healthy inner life. Rebecca. The problem I run into frequently is the lunch break scenario. I like people and make friends easily, but I don't like mindless socializing. Consequently, I prefer to eat lunch on my own, and I find usually chit-chat exhausting. I need my lunch break time to clear my mind for the afternoon's work. Most of my colleagues understand, but there are some who just don't get it. Lawrence. I think the worst part of growing up introverted was that people assume I wanted to be otherwise. If you sit in a tree with a book at races, people assume you wish you were braiding hair with the pretty girls or smoking pot with the badass kids, but really you are happy with what you are doing. Allison. Misconception 3. Introverts lack patience. People often accuse Lynn Chapman of being unemotional. In an introvert, dear article she writes, have you ever been to a workshop where the speaker bounces onto the stage and shouts, are you excited? Or maybe someone gleefully asks you the same question as at parties or social gathering. If you are an introvert like me, you might find these questions daunting. I can be excited about something, but I won't show it outwardly. Although the people who know me well can tell, I am introspective and quiet by nature, but so my response to the questions can simply be yes, said with a smile. I can relate to Lean's problem. There have been many times in my life when my lack of outward enthusiasm has created issues. For example, a few years ago, when I was dating for the first time as an adult, guys will tell me they thought I didn't like them. Sometimes they were right. After a first date, I wanted nothing to do with them, but other times I would be swooning and planning our future together as paramours. The only exception played in my head, but I didn't show my feeling in the typical extroverted way. I didn't gush, sigh, or giggle. In fact, it seems like the more I was into someone, the more I claim up, talk about counterproductive. Although Lean and I would probably get cut from the peep squad, that doesn't mean we lack patience. Just because we don't look excited does not mean we are not into something. Introverts can be just as emotional as extroverts, but we usually keep the bulk of those feelings hidden inside. Even if we are having a bad day and a coworker asks, "How are you?" we may not want to talk about it. As Michaela Jung, author of The Irresistible Introvert, put it, that's the thing about introverts. We fear our chaos on the inside where no one can see it, at least until you get to know us really, really well. Eventually, Lindland did not care about what the other people thought of her lack of enthusiasm. If anyone says, "I don't look excited enough," or I'm too quiet," I will smile and point out that it's just my nature. She writes, "I don't feel the need to defend myself or to spend a lot of time with those people because it does not do me any good to be around anyone who inadvertently triggers my old belief about myself." What many fail to see is that deep within the introvert there is a lot of going on, but rather than giving it a voice directly through talk and chatter, the introvert expresses it through activism, journaling, painting, and creating music, planting a flower garden, fighting for some special cause, or even well-placed silence. Misconception 4: introverts hate people. In his semi-autobiographical screenplay Barfly, Charles Bukowski penned a line that decades later would go on to become the introvert's anthem. This line got passed around a lot of introvert circles, perhaps you have heard it. In the screenplay, Wanda, a woman who has shacked up with the main character, Henry, asks him if he hates people. Henry, a lonely alcoholic, answered that no, despite appearance, he does not. He simply feels better when there are not any people around. Unfortunately, like Henry, many introverts get accused of being misanthropes. Our friends and loved ones think we dislike people because we like spending time alone. And however, for most introverts, this is simply not true. In fact, some introverts like people so much that they have chosen extroverted careers that force them to interact with people every day. Their jobs drain them, but they feel the sacrifice is worth it in order to serve humankind. Many introverts are social worker, a teacher, a counselor, a doctor, project manager, and so on. For example, Karen has been an IT project manager in the healthcare industry for over 35 years. She tells me that what she likes the most about her job is being able to help people use technology. And there is also Vanessa, who has been a social worker for 10 years. She likes that her job lets her really get to know people and hear their stories, as she gets to keep the small talk and chiming right into meaningful conversation. And finally, Mary, a manufacturing consultant, feels that helping people by sharing her gift is worth the sacrifice of becoming overstimulated. She says she loves seeing clients grow their business and fulfill their dream. Yeah, that's the misconception 4. Next, misconception number 5: all introverts are shy. Yeah, another misconception about introverts is that we are all shy, but that's simply not true. Introversion and shyness are two different things. If you are shy, you fear being judged negatively by others. You may frequently feel bashful, timid, nervous, and insecure in social settings, as well as experience physical sensations, such as blushing or feeling shaky and breathless. If you are an introvert, you simply prefer calm, low-key environment. For example, a shy person might skip a dinner party because the thought of making small talk with strangers makes them scared and anxious, while an introvert might skip the party because relaxing at home is more enjoyable. You can be an introvert who is not shy, or an extrovert who is shy. For example, Bill Gates, the co-founder of Microsoft, is an introvert who is not the least bit shy. He is described by Susan Chin in a Physiology Today blog post as nerdy and quiet, but also unravel anyone's opinion of him. On the other hand, Barbara Streisand, the larger-than-life music icon, is likely a shy extrovert. Most people do not know that she struggles with stage fright after panicking during the performance in Central Park and forgetting the words to one of her songs. Streisand avoided live performances for decades. Of course, you can be both shy and introvert. As one might predict, psychologists have found that shyness and introversion overlap somewhat, meaning that some introverts act shy and that some shy people are introverted. There are several possible reasons behind this. One reason is some people are born with high reactive temperaments that make them inclined to both shyness and introversion, according to Jane. Also, shy people may become more introverted over time because social life is a source of anxiety and they may be inspired to discover the joy of being alone. Also, introverts may become shy after repeatedly receiving the message from peers, teachers, and parents that there is something wrong with them. It's important to know the difference between shyness and introversion because if you are painfully shy, you can work to overcome your shyness. I did. I grew up horribly shy, but these days I worry a lot less about what people think of me, and it's freeing. But the more significant takeaway is that there is a bias in our society against both traits. According to Jane, studies show that we rank fast and frequent talker as more likable, capable, and intelligent than slow, quiet ones. This is the real misconception that needs to be squashed. Just because someone is shy or introverted does not mean they are any less competent and smart. Misconception 6: introverts make poor leaders. Yeah. Managing others, being in the spotlight, taking risks, these are quality we associate with leaders and with extroversion. Does this mean introverts make poor leaders? Not at all. Introverts play a crucial role in every sphere of society, from business to politics to technology. In fact, USA Today reported that 40% of the top executives are introverts, and some of the most notable leaders of our time are introverts, such as Bill Gates. He believes that introverts can make a strong leader. Speaking at an engagement in 2013, he said that there is a benefit to being introverted. Introverts have the unique ability to separate themselves from others for a few days, which allows them to think deeply about the problem, read everything they can about it, and consider angles that others have not. Another introverted leader is Marissa Mayer, the CEO of Yahoo. Mayer told Vogue magazine that she gets the urge to run and hide during parties, even parties held at her own house. Her secret to dealing with her social avoidant tendencies, she looks at her watch and tells herself that she cannot leave until a certain time, and she promises herself if she is still having a terrible time at X, she can leave. However, she usually finds that if she makes herself stay for a certain length of time, she gets over her social awkwardness and ends up having fun. And finally, there is Barack Obama, the former US president. According to the New York Times author Michael Deschier, Obama spent 4 to 5 hours alone almost every night of his presidency. After having dinner with his wife and daughters, he withdrew to his private office where he worked on speeches, read stack of briefing paper, and read later from Americans. But it was not all work. Obama indulged in his own version of introvert, recharged time by watching ESPN, reading novels, and playing Word with friends on his iPad. Like other introverts who have been accused of being stuck up or rude, Obama, too, was criticized for his aloof personality, but it was also his introspective nature and capacity for communication that made him a powerful leader. And that gave him the reputation for having a different style than many on Capitol Hill. Misconception number 7: introverts do not know how to have fun. I don't think so, but this time I hope you have a better idea of what introversion is, and perhaps more important, what it's not. If someone is surprised to learn that you are an introvert, it could be because they don't understand what introversion truly is. Fight those misconceptions. Introverts are not disturbed recluses who hide away in the dark bedrooms. Introverts have fun. Introvert loves and love to. Chapter 4. Yes, the introvert hangover is real. Everyone wanted to talk to Shanwa, the newest addition to her finance family. She was introduced to what felt like hundreds of people, one after the other, in a quick succession. As the night wore on, the people around her became louder and more energetic, but someone, an introvert, became so exhausted that she could no longer keep a smile on her face. She couldn't take it anymore. I slipped away like a thief, skulking about the house, searching for a place where it was quiet, she wrote in an Introvert Dear article. Eventually, she found that place, a half-lit room, empty except for her future brother-in-law, who was sitting alone, staring out the window, knowing he was an introvert too. Shauna figured this was her best option for escape. She sat down on the opposite side of the room, wrapping her arm around her knees. I remember hoping he wouldn't think I was intruding upon his own solitude before I allowed myself to zone out, letting my thoughts drown out and raw calls louder from downstairs, breathing deeply and feeling the tension drain away. I don't know how long it was before my now husband came looking for me, but I remember him laughing at finding the two introverts seeking refuge together. To this day, Shauna and her brother-in-law have not spoken of that night. There is no need, Shauna figures, because they both inherently understood what the other was experiencing, an introvert hangover, brought on by too much socializing. I become physically unwell if I overextend. When Shauna wrote about her experience in an article for Introvert Dear called Yes, There is Such a Thing as an Introvert Hangover, it went practically viral. Major media outlets like In Magazine, New York Magazine chimed in, commenting on hangover symptoms and exploring the trigger behind this phenomenon. In a later publication, Jesse Singal describes his version of introvert hangover in an article in the Science of Us section titled Introvert Hangover Can Be Really Rough. It's more about a general sense of anxiety and ambition. I find it harder and harder to make small talk and more driven to be alone. The man shut down resonated too. It gets harder and harder to fake genuine social interaction, though more so that at a party with the people I don't know than when in a smaller group of people I know and like. It was not just other writer who weighed in at the comment section of someone's article blew up. I might need a whole day to myself to recharge after a party, and I really feel like I was hungover, headache, nausea, fatigue, the whole bang, and one reader comment, another agrees. I often need the next day to recover, which is why I tried really hard to never schedule 2 days of socializing back to back, and I definitely become physically unwell if I overextend. When Shauna wrote about her experiences, she had no idea she would hit on a topic that resonated so deeply with many introverts. It turns out Shauna was not alone in her introvert hangover. The introvert hangover is real. What an introvert hangover feels like. The introvert hangover could also be called social burnout or a social hangover. No matter what we call it, an introvert hangover can be rough. Some introverts experience physical symptoms. For Shauna, it starts with an actual physical reaction to overstimulation. Your ear might ring, your eyes start to blur, and you feel like you are going to hyperventilate, maybe your palms sweat. Also, you may become irritable. This is what happened to Kyla after she spent the day at the Universal Studio theme park with her soon-to-be husband and his family. Even though the outing was fun, she quickly developed an introvert hangover. I got tired. Not just physically tired, but mentally tired, and I got grumpy, she tells me. You know how a little kid gets fuzzy when they need a nap? It's the same for me. I needed a mental nap. On top of that, your mind may shut down. This happens to Brenda novels. Yeah, she explained. Are not all recluses hanging out in dusty homes with the cats and classic book. Introverts get out and rock it. But then we need to withdraw. If we don't, we will feel like an overridden stick, no life, no choice. Our minds will be zapped and catatony. Our speech may come out slowly with a pause between words. There may be tears or swearing or both. Most important, when you experience an introvert hangover, you get an overwhelming desire to be alone. Contrary to popular belief, we introverts just enjoy socializing, writes Michaela Chung, creator of the blog Introvert Spring, in a post called Introvert: How to Cure a Social Hangover. We have our playmates and our patients, just as extroverts do. Some of us like to dance, and some of us like to drink. Some of us like to flirt, laugh, and chase sunsets. Some of us have a habit of cramming all of the above into one day, and then of course we pay. When this happens, you don't want to walk or talk to anyone. You just want to close the door and be alone for a while, not for too long, just until the season turns or reality TV goes out of style. Every introvert experiences the introvert hangover a little differently. You may not get sweaty palm like a Sanwa or feel crunchy like a Kyla. You may get an introvert hangover after 20 minutes of socializing or after 2 days, and it may last for a few minutes or a few hours. Your symptoms and the duration of the hangover will depend on several factors. The social situation itself, your own level of introversion, and how much energy you had going into the social event, and the quality of your downtime afterward. What everyone else does. Unfortunately, when you have an introvert hangover, your problem do not stop at mental and physical exhaustion. When other people notice you are getting burned out, they often make the situation worse, not better. They ask, "Are you feeling okay? Why are you being so quiet?" They have a good intentions. I know that. They want you to have a good time at a party or a get together, and they are worrying that you are not. What they don't know is being called out does not help. In fact, it probably just makes you feel self-conscious, which result in you doubling down on your extroverted effort. This expends more social energy and ultimately makes your hangover worse. Worse yet, people accuse you of being a boring party pooper. Come on, just relax and have a good time. Or don't you know how to have fun? An introvert hangover happen because introverts have a less active dopamine reward system than extrovert, as you learned before. If your friends knew you are an introvert who feels drained by socializing, they would probably understand. They might even help you find a quiet place to recharge or not make you feel guilty for wanting to leave early. The problem is, when you are experiencing an introvert hangover, your feeling seems irrational. Everyone around you is having fun. They are not showing sign of social burnout, so why are you? Another problem is, when you feel exhausted and grungy, the last thing you want is to sum on what's left of your energy to give a lengthy explanation. Sure, other people would benefit from knowing about introvert and dopamine, but who wants to give a science lecture when your head is spinning? So you keep your feeling to yourself to end up snapping at others or glowering. You are accused of being no fun. Worst of all, you feel exhausted and unwell. For extroverts, recognizing the signs of an introvert hangover. If you have an introvert in your life, it's important to know the sign of an introvert hangover. Every introvert experiences social burnout in a different way, so they may have symptoms like this or different ones. Here are general signs to watch for: zoning out, daydreaming or glazing over, becoming quiet, irritability, crankiness, grumpiness, speaking more slowly and having long pauses between words, appearing tired or low in energy, getting flustered when having to make a decision, feeling physically unwell, feeling anxious, down or depressed, and wanting to withdraw and be alone. Introverts tend to be highly self-aware, but surprisingly, this does not always translate to being aware of our own feeling and bodily sensation. Sometimes we don't recognize when we are getting burned out. Seemingly out of nowhere, we become combative, lethargic, and indecisive, especially if we are used to overextending ourselves. An introvert hangover may just be our norm. You can do your introvert a favor by noticing when they are getting burned out. Check in with them and see if they need to get away and be alone. Your introvert will appreciate that you are looking out for them. The only way to cure an introvert hangover. There's only one cure for the introvert hangover. It's the same cure prescribed for actual hangover induced by alcohol. No, I'm not talking about taking aspirin or eating a crazy burger. The cure I'm talking about is time. In the case of the introvert hangover, it's time spent alone. When it comes to solitude, every introvert has a prescription that works for them. Yeah, just give them time. Like Jonathan Rauch, author of the popular Atlantic article Caring You for Your Introvert, has his need boiled down to a precise formula. After an hour or two of being unsocially, he finds himself waiting. That's when he needs to get away from the crowd and recharge. And Rowley, for every 1 hour spent with people, he spent 2 hours in solitude. To him, this is not a symptom of depression or antisocial behavior, rather, being alone fits him on a mental and emotional level. Just like eating and resting sustain the body in a physical way. Not all alone time is the same. You can be alone while answering email in your private office or driving by yourself in rush hour traffic. Your environment may not even be quiet, but this type of alone time probably wants to restore your energy. Although there is no one else around, you are not really relaxed. True restorative alone time allows your mind to wander. You stop paying attention to things in the outside world and instead turn inward. You don't think about what's coming next on your schedule or what other people want to do. You do whatever you want in the moment, whether it's watching a show on Netflix, listening to music, or reading. And remember Kyla, the introvert who spent the day at the Universal Studio with her soon-to-be in-laws. Although she had an introvert hangover, she couldn't leave the park until the outing was over because the whole family had come together. At one point, when she felt really overloaded, she did something that likely saved the day. She went off on her own for a while. Thankfully, her fiancé, no husband, is an introvert too, so he understood one more thing. Alone time does not have to be spent completely alone. As Kyla walked through the park, there were swarm of people around her. Nevertheless, she received an energy boost because she got to spend time not interacting with anyone. And similarly, for many introverts, sometimes their significant other counts as being alone. This is time when you are just hanging out and relaxing with no real demand on you to act a certain way. You might lounge around the house in your pajamas or read a book on a couch while your significant other sits nearby playing a video game. Though you are not talking, you are in each other's presence. You are being alone together. This can be just as restorative as actually being by yourself. Being alone can be glorious. When you have an introvert hangover, finally getting to be alone is a glorious thing. It's quiet, no small talk, no one is demanding anything from you. When I was a teacher, I realized the moment of quiet at the end of the school day when I could finally close my classroom door and be alone. It was even better when I didn't have any plans after school and could go straight home to an empty apartment. One days when I was really overloaded, I would lie on the couch just staring up into space, watching Netflix, reading, or listening to a podcast would have been too much mental stimulation at that point, and I needed to just be. One of my most vivid memories of being alone was in college. I had signed up to study abroad in Spain for a semester as a shy introvert who at the time had never lived anywhere else but Minnesota. This was a big step for me. The first 2 days of the trip were grueling. Traveling from Sao Paulo to Madrid, I was surrounded by new people 24/7. What made it worse was everyone seemed to become friends with each other instantly, even though they had never met before. While I was trying to show my feeling of overstimulation, they were laughing and having fun. I felt simultaneously bombarded by people and laughed out. When we finally arrived at our hotel, my classmates quickly put together a plan to go bar hopping. One of them invited me. Here was my change. I thought I could finally break into their friend group, but that thought was quickly replaced with another. I was so I was so exhausted I could barely think straight. I was overwhelmed by so many new things, new people, new food, and new language, and new experiences, and I became anxious at the thought that of adding one of more thing to my already overloaded system. I didn't go. I just didn't have it in me. I knew staying in mean missing an opportunity to make friends. It also meant I would have the way to explore a new city, but I made up my mind that I would have to live with those five. So I crept back to the hotel room I was sharing with two other women. I crawled into bed, but I didn't fall asleep. Instead, I lay there, releasing the silence and the fact that I was finally alone. Slowly, I could feel my body coming back to life. My mind relaxed, and I started to process all the new thing I would experience. It was like my thoughts, which had been stuffed away in a jar those last 2 days, were suddenly released as the jar opened. As my thoughts flew out, I finally made sense of them. I would like to say I didn't feel any regret when I saw my classmates the next day, but that wouldn't be true. They were worn out, but they looked closer than ever. They kept referencing things that had happened the night before, and I had no idea what they were talking about. I was left out of their inside jokes. As the trip went on, I never really made it into their inner circle, but ultimately, I believe I did the right thing. Looking back, his high energy people who partied, I would probably wouldn't have been the right friend fit for this low-key introvert anyway. Plus, the next day, as we toured at an art museum, a church, and other places, I actually had the energy to enjoy these experiences. When the choice of solitude is not clear. Introverts have to make difficult choices all the time, like the one I made in Madrid. Should we snatch up an opportunity to experience something new, potentially have fun, and make social connection, even though the trade-off is exhaustion and overstimulation, or should we stay home and protect our energy but risking missing out? Sometimes the answer is not clear. Should I stay or should I go? Like Rachel's experience in Germany and mine in Spain, the choice between staying in and going out is not always obvious. Maybe you are not on a once in a lifetime trip, but you are simply trying to decide whether you should attend a friend's birthday party. You don't want to let your friend down. What if the night ends up being fun and you miss it? However, if you go, you will likely become exhausted and overstimulated of it. We don't really know how an event will affect us until we are there. My personal rule is if I think I will be able to tolerate the social drain and there seems to be a potential for meaningful interactions, I will go. If I'm already exhausted because it's been a long work week or I have already had too many social obligations, I skip it. If the event does not promise meaningful interaction, that's another reason to stay home. All of this assumes that it wouldn't be incredibly rude of me to decline, meaning it's not my grandfather's 19th birthday party for my best friend's wedding. In cases like those, you probably have to suck at it up and make an appearance. It's not always easy to determine if a get-together promises meaningful interaction. Once I went to a friend's birthday party that involved a huge group dinner followed by hanging out at a nightclub, which was also an arcade. Talk about sensory overload, there were flashing lights, crowds, and noise everywhere. Halfway through the night, I ended up meeting a fellow introvert who's not sure if he wanted to be there either. We spent the night talking, just the two of us. Later, from a safe distance, we made jokes and sarcastic comments as we watched the crowd right on the dance floor. Needless to say, it unexpectedly ended up being fun, a memorable night. There have been other times when something I thought that would be fun didn't turn out that way. There's just no guarantee how a social event will go. The important thing is to accept that no perfect decision exists. There will be trade-off no matter what you decide. Often you have to just make your decision and deal with whatever happened. And if you end up wanting to go home 30 minutes after you arrive, give yourself permission to do just that. How to prevent an introvert hangover? Sometimes you really do want to go to something even though you are certain you will get slapped with an introvert hangover. Jack is An introvert who is into cosplay, she faces this conundrum every year when she attends Dragon Con in Atlanta, which is a 5-day sci-fi convention that boasts more than 70,000 people in attendance. The crowd are unbelievable. Jax, tell me. The party and panel contests are non-stop. It can be an emotional meat grinder for even an extrovert. Thankfully, Jax and her friends have discovered some strategy that allow them to enjoy the conference and avoid introvert hangover. Rules for being friends with an introvert. Introverts need friends too, but let's face it. Navigating a friendship can be tricky. You have expectations for how the relationship should go, and so do they. And these expectations do not always match up. That's when feelings turn sour. So, in the interest of introvert everywhere and the people who become friends with them, I'm going to lay down some ground rules. Suggested use. Mention this point casually to your friends and talk about which rules resonate with you and which ones do not. Highly discourage hanging these sections of the book where your friends will see it and handing out citations to rule breakers like a traffic cop. Here are 14 rules for being friends with an introvert. Number 1, if you want to get to know us better, hang out with us one-on-one. Have you ever wanted to make an introvert disappear? Put them in a large group. Yeah, they will quietly fade into the background and pretty soon it's like they are not even there. But when you get introverts alone, it's a different story. Introverts thrive in more intimate setting because when we are talking to just one person, it drastically reduces our stimulation level. We only have to pay attention to the words, body language, and tone of voice of one person. Plus, during a one-on-one, it's easier to talk about more meaningful things. Group talk tends to revolve around safe topics like the news, jokes, and only the part of your spring break trip to Cancun or maybe another story that are clean enough to tell your grandma. Introverts want to share ideas and talk authentically about things that matter. Number 2. Likewise, if you say, it's just going to be the two of us, don't invite other people. It's a little hurtful if we feel like we are just another warm body in your extrovert out and our age. We want to mean something to you. Because if we are friends, you mean a lot to us. Plus, we were probably looking forward to talking to just you, and we didn't mentally prepare ourselves to interact with people whom we may not be comfortable with. Before you invite other people, check with us. We might be totally up for it, or we might not. Either way, we will feel like you have respected our preferences. Number 3, we would rather have a tiny moment of real connection than hours of polite chit chat. How are you really? What's really on your mind? Don't just tell us that you had a good weekend. Tell us it was good because you finally sorted out your complicated feeling about your ex, or that you are having an existential crisis about the fact that you are getting older and that you haven't accomplished the things you thought you would have accomplished by now. Yeah. We would rather know what's going on inside you, what's really going on, than just see the polished facade that you display to everyone else. How are your ideas, thoughts, and feelings evolving? Number 4. Sometimes we need encouragement to open up about ourselves. As much as introverts enjoy meaningful, authentic conversation, we can struggle to get there. In fact, we tend to keep our thoughts, opinion, and feeling to ourselves, especially around people we don't know well. For example, there have been many times when something was bothering me and I wanted to talk to someone about it, but because I worried I was inconveniencing the people around me, or I just didn't know what to say to steer the conversation my way, I didn't bring it up. I have gotten better at advocating for myself as I have gotten older, but sometimes it's still hard. If you notice that your new introvert friends looks particularly distracted, maybe there is something that's weighing heavily on their mind that they don't know how to talk about, try asking them good-natured, non-praying questions. You don't quite seems like yourself today. Is there something on your mind that you would want to talk about? Of course. If they say they don't want to talk about it, do not push too hard. But showing a little interest in us and directly inviting us to talk can go a long way. Number 5. We may have a hard time confronting you about something. In the same way that we may struggle to open up, we may also shy away from conflict. This is not true of all introverts. I know introverts who are just as blunt and confrontational as some extroverts, but in general, introverts do not like to rock the boat. Remember the study that said introverts saw an angry person's gaze as a threat. It's like that. Angry, harsh words can be overstimulating, and we are likely to brood on hurtful comment, making the matter worse. But if a friend crosses a boundary, they probably won't hear about it right away. We likely won't erupt on the spot unless it's really bad. Rather, we will go home, think about what was said or done, and bring it up in a day or two later, or send you an email. It's easier to write our thoughts than speak them. Number 6. We may get lost in our own little world. The introvert's inner world is so vivid and alive. It's as real as the world around us that we can see, smell, touch, taste, and feel. This means we are prone to daydreaming and getting lost in our thoughts while we are hanging out. We drift off for a moment. Don't say things like, "Hey, where did you go?" or "Hey, welcome back to Earth." This will probably make us feel self-conscious. Do not worry, we're just taking a short trip to the realm of our thoughts, and we will be back with you in a few moments. Number 7. Our silence means we are processing. Likewise, if we are having a conversation with you and we are quiet for a moment, we are probably thinking about what you said. Give us a bit to collect our thoughts. We like to think before we speak, and then we will lay some introvert wisdom on you. Number 8. We like talking too. I have an extroverted friend who will go on and on about her life if given the chance, and suddenly 20 minutes have gone by and I have barely said anything. I like to listen, but be supportive of her. But even I have my limits, as all introverts do. Please remember that although introverts are good listeners, we still like to talk to. Unfortunately, many people interpret our silence as an invitation to keep talking, and make sure your quiet friends gets their turn too. Number 9. We may not call or text you as much as your extroverted friends. That doesn't mean we are not thinking about you. On the contrary, you probably flow through our busy month quite a bit when we are apart. But we know we will soon see each other again. We would rather catch up in a way that's meaningful in person or over coffee one-on-one. Number 10. Give us time to mentally prepare to hang out. Spontaneity can be fun and it has its place. But as a general rule, don't text us and ask us to be ready to hang out in 10 minutes. We need time to mentally prepare for socializing, even if it's with a close friend. Every introvert is different, but I prefer to be asked to socialize at least a day in advance. 11. As much as we love you, please do not show up at our house without asking. Our home is our sacred space where we can, hopefully, quietly recharge. This goes back to the whole, we need to be mentally prepared to see people thing. 12. If you don't answer your text, email, or Facebook message right away, don't think we are ignoring you. We might want to think for a while about how we will respond. I overread messages and don't answer right away because I want to think of the best way to answer. Or maybe in introvert recharge mode, no people, no messaging, no phone. For our own mental sanity, sometimes we need to completely disconnect from people in every way. 13. Please know that as much as we had fun hanging out with you yesterday, we probably don't want to hang out again today. You may feel energized from hanging out the day before, but we feel tired. Even if we enjoy ourselves, give us some time to be in introvert mode, and we promise we will want to see you again soon. 14. If we say we want to stay home, we really do just want to stay home. We are not trying to hide from you. We are not sending you the passive aggressive message that we don't want to be friends anymore. We likely just need some downtime to recharge. And if you want more friends, what if you are staying home every weekend not because you need to recharge, but because you don't have anyone to hang out with? Sauna Quarter, yes, ironically, is the same person who wrote about the introvert hangover. Understand this problem. One of my biggest regrets about the past decade of my life is that I didn't make more of an effort to make friends of my own. See what in an introvert dear article. I got caught up in work, in my marriage, in taking care of my family. It was not until she was speaking to move away from her home in Los Angeles that she realized that she had not gotten to know many people in the 5+ years she would live there. And why didn't I go out and do more things, meet more people? Honestly, it was because I was afraid. I was plagued by what ifs. What if I show up at an event and no one talked to me? What if I said or did something embarrassing? What if, what if, what if, what if? I allowed those fears to stop me. As Shauna drove across the country to her new home, she realized she didn't want to let fear control her anymore. She challenged herself to step out of her introvert comfort zone and meet more people. She has been in her new city for over 2 years now, and she feels like she has finally created the kind of life she wants to live. And finding new people is hard. As an adult, where do you go to meet new people, and how do you start a conversation with someone you barely know? Hanging out with people you don't know well can be draining. Also, you don't want to be friends with just anyone. That means the shady extrovert who parties every weekend probably won't become your best friend forever. You are looking for a friend who understands you, someone you truly click with, and so that's an introvert to do. Here are 9 ideas to help you make friends with people who truly get you. Number 1, think about the people you already know. You don't have to head to the nearest party or networking event to make new friends. Chances are there are already people in your life whom you would like to get to know better. Ask yourself which of your acquaintances seems interesting and make it a point to talk to these people more. Number 2, it's okay to make the first move. Many introverts, myself included, are guilty of waiting for people to come to them. We worry about rejections. What if I ask her to get coffee after class and she says no? Or worse, what if he gets to know me better and he does not like who I am? As shown experience, the process of making new friends can fill a person with self-doubt. And if you are an introvert who has experienced significant rejection, you may feel so discouraged you don't even want to try anymore. In college, I learned a hard lesson about being passive about making friends. When I moved away from home and left my childhood friends behind, I quickly found myself alone and lonely. I look around and wonder how everyone had become friends with each other so quickly. Eventually, I realized I was not making an effort to get to know anyone. I was skipping social mixer and dorm events that were designed for freshman mingling. I saw classes as an opportunity to, learn something, when they could have been an opportunity to both learn and meet new people. I had wrongly assumed that making friends would just happen without any action on my part. I'm not saying you have to turn yourself into an extrovert, but you can give yourself permission to go first. Number 3, peel off the mask. Some introverts keep their thoughts and preferences hidden because they worry about others judging them. They don't reveal who they really are, fearing what others may think, but this can lead to having hollow relationships and becoming friends with people who don't really get you. Instead, when you meet someone you want to connect with, be brave and show them who you really are. Say what you really think and feel. Even if you worry they will disagree or won't be able to relate, you can do this bit by bit. It doesn't have to be a float, and you can do it tactfully. When you peel off the mask, you make yourself vulnerable, and this is how true connection is created. Number 4, ask questions. Introverts have a superpower, listening. Ask the other person questions about themselves, what's new in their life, if they could have any career they want, what would it be? And use a powerful listening skill to learn more about them. Plus, when you get them talking, it takes the spotlight off you. Number 5, notice how you feel. Do you feel energized after hanging out with your new friend, or are you exhausted that you want to hide in your bedroom for days? As an introvert, it's normal to feel tired after spending time with someone new. After all, peeling off the mask takes precious energy, but overall your friends should make you feel good, not drained. It's okay to listen to your feeling. Use them to guide your interaction with your new friends. Number 6, watch out for potentially toxic relationship. It's not uncommon for introverts to get stuck in one-sided or toxic relationships. During an interview with me, Adam S. McCah, author of Introvert in the Courage, says, "We give people space to express themselves, which is our gift and our curse. People feel safe around us and share openly with us because they know we won't interrupt them or compete for attention. We are often content letting other people shape how conversations go." In other words, when you are the calm one who listens sympathetically, you can end up on the losing end of a relationship with a toxic person. That's because emotionally needy people usually lack self-awareness. They may not even realize that they are dominating the relationship. They may often try to turn the conversation back to them and their problems, and their pain can become a controlling factor in the relationship or friendship maybe. That's why it's important to set boundaries. If you don't, you may feel like you are losing yourself in unhealthy relationship, no matter what your temperament. The key to avoiding toxic relationship is a strong sense of self. Adam says, if you lack that, you will probably find yourself in one-sided relationship with unhealthy people. One of the most helpful changes he has made is making sure that he is not the only one initiating in a friendship or relationship. By initiation, he means not only whether people text or invite him to coffee, but also whether people ask questions about his life and show genuine interest in his responses. Those are the people worth investing in, he tells me. Number 7, remember that the awkwardness will go away with time. Introverts tend to keep their best stuff inside, quirky, fun personalities, and only let their true self out once they feel comfortable around someone. If being with your new friend is somewhat awkward at first, don't beat yourself up. The more you hang out with them, the more comfortable you will feel. Keep at it. Number 8, plan a regularly scheduled meetup. Ask your new friend to hang out once a week, have a brunch every Saturday morning, or get a drink after work every Thursday. Having a standing friend date means you don't have to exert as much energy to plan something. The details are already taken care of. Plus, routine tends to make us introverts feel more comfortable because then we know that what to expect. Number 9, go slowly. Genuine friendship takes time to develop. If you bow to the pressure to start collecting groupies, you will likely end up with shallow, unsatisfying relationships that fall apart because there was never true connection. Allow your relationship to develop naturally. How to teach small talk. As an introvert who craft meaningful interactions, this will probably come as no surprise to you. Psychologist Matthias Mell and his team discovered a link between happiness and substantive conversation. His study, published in the journal Physiological Science, involved college students who were electronically activated recorded with a microphone on their shirt collar that captured 30-second snippets of conversation of 12.5 minutes for 4 days. Effectively, this created a conversational diary of their day. Then researchers went through the conversation and categorized them as either small talk about the weather, a recent TV show, and etc., and or more substantive conversation, talk about philosophy, current affairs, and etc. Researchers were careful not to automatically label certain topic a certain way. For example, if the speakers analyzed as TV shows, character, and their motivation, this conversation was considered substantive. They also found that some conversation didn't fit neatly into their category. These were discussions that focused on practical matter, like who will take out the trash or what the homework assignment was. Ultimately, this research found that about one-third of the college student conversation were considered substantive, while one-fifth consisted of small talk. The researchers also studied how happy the participants were, drawing data from life satisfaction report the college student completed themselves, as well as feedback from people in the studio. Because it's not clear whether people make themselves happier by having substantive conversation or whether people who are already happy choose to engage in meaningful talk. However, one thing is evident. Happiness and meaningful interaction go hand in hand. Mel, in an interview with the New York Times, discussed the reason why he thinks substantive conversation are linked to happiness. For one, humans are driven to create meaning in their life. Substantive conversation help us do that. He says, also human beings, both introvert and extrovert, are social animals who have a real need to connect with others. Substantive conversation connect, whereas small talk does not. Want to have more substantive conversations? Here are 5 ideas to help you teach the small talk. 1. Get the other person to tell a story. Small talk can be boring because we often ask questions that can be answered in just 1 or 2 words. For example, how are you? Fine. Or how was your day? Pretty good. To teach the small talk, try asking more open-ended questions like, what was the most interesting thing that happened at work today? Questions like this invite the other person to tell a story. Here are some more ideas. Instead of, how are you? How was your weekend? Where did you grow up? What do you do for a living? Try, what's your story? What was your favorite part of your weekend? Tell me something interesting about where you grew up and what drew you to your line of work. Number 2, be curious. As an introvert, you are probably naturally curious. You wonder how the world works or what makes a person think. When talking with others, channel your instinctive curiosity. Put yourself in the mindset of being curious to learn more about the other person. You will probably find that you listen more intently. Your body language will show that you are engaged, and you will be more easily think of questions that move the conversation forward. Plus, being curious about others is a highly attractive quality, and it creates immediate interest and intimacy. Number 3. Ask why instead of what. This is a twist on asking open-ended questions. Instead of asking about the fact, what questions? Ask people why they made certain decisions. For example, after you have asked, what college did you go? Follow up with, why did you choose that college? Number 4. Share details about yourself and see what sticks. This can be hard for introverts because we tend to dislike talking about ourselves. It puts the spotlight on us, and we may feel exposed. As a result, we get stuck in cycles of mind-numbing small talk in which we don't reveal anything about ourselves, and in turn, we don't learn anything meaningful about the other person. And this prevents the relationship from growing in a satisfying way. To avoid this, share a few details about yourself and see what sticks. If you work in an office or go to school, you probably get asked, how are you? Several times a day. Instead of giving the typical response, I am fine, how are you? Expand on your answer and give a few details about your day. You might say something like, good, I got up early this morning to get a coffee from my favorite coffee shop. Then notice how the other person reacts. Do they keep the conversation going by asking a follow-up question? Nice, what's your favorite coffee shop? Or do they give a disinterested nod? If the other person does not seem interested, try revealing another detail about yourself until you hit on a topic that gets the two of you talking. I had a really hard time with last night's assignment. I couldn't figure out what the professor wanted. Did you understand what we are supposed to do? Number 5. Dare to be honest. We often sacrifice expressing our true thoughts and feelings for the sake of politeness. But there is something very authentic and surprisingly charming about being completely honest. In the irresistible introvert, Michaela Chang writes that you can quickly take conversation to a deeper level by saying things like, to be honest, I don't go to party very much. I feel pretty overwhelmed by being here. I'm not a big talker, but I like listening. I don't like camping, like at all. I'm really proud of that. This week feels awkward. That hurt my feeling. No, I don't want to go. I would rather stay home and have some me time. Yeah, be careful to not take this to the extreme. You risk alienating your conversation partner if you overshare or insult. However, if done right, even one authentic disclosure can quickly build intimacy because honesty draws people in. When friends drift apart, it can be hard to make meaningful connection. It can be even harder when you lose a close friend. That's what happened to Mallory Xavier, who became friends with someone unexpected, a fellow classmate in graduate school. Her new friend was one of those people whom everyone liked. In Mallory's own words, she was a force in the world. Mallory, on the other hand, is a quiet introvert. To her surprise, they spend hours together studying, sharing stories, enjoying deep conversation, and Mallory opened up to her in ways she had never expected. And after graduation, the two moved to different cities, and that's when they drifted apart. During their last conversation, Mallory accused her friend of treating her as tough she were not a priority. She admitted that she was harsh with her words, but she was desperate to hold on to a relationship that meant so much to her. The two women have not spoken since that argument, and she worries that the friendship is beyond repair. The loss was extremely painful for Mallory because it's not even often that she finds someone who truly gets her. In those rare instances, when a real friendship develop and I felt truly understood by the other person, it is nearly impossible to let go of them. Mallory writes in an introvert tier article, finding someone who is willing to indulge my interests, as obscure as they sometimes are, as really as I am willing to indulge theirs, is a gift. It is rare to feel so truly accepted. Have you ever lost a good friend? You may find yourself ruminating on what happened, feeling like you cannot get your thoughts to change track and move on. And Mallory writes that she spent hours going over the different scenario for how things could have gone differently with her friend. But this was not productive because she couldn't change the past, and brooding drained her energy. Mallory found it helpful to write about her feeling and to talk about the situation with another close friend. Getting her thoughts out of her head helped her to process them better and to break free of the rumination cycle. If you have recently lost a friendship, you may want to take this time to appreciate your other relationship. While you may not have as deep of a relationship with your other friends, you likely have a group of people around you who love you. Those friends who were there for me during my friendship grieving process have endeared themselves to me in ways they will never know. And Mallory writes, the sense of trust their action have allowed me to be more open with them and to be more willing to trust them with the deeper part of my being and to prevent a devastating loss from happening again. Ask yourself if you are seeking a relationship with reciprocity. Relationship require reciprocity in order for both parties to be fulfilled. If a relationship becomes too one-sided, you might begin to resent one another. Of course, we all go through a wave of needing more at certain times in our life, and this wave are a normal part of life. But if your relationship is constantly out of balance, you may not be as good as friend as you think. If you are always the one initiating contact, setting up times to meet, sending the first text, and etc., the relationship may be one-sided. Likewise, both parties need to get something out of the relationship. This means one person is not doing all the talking, asking for all the favor, or always leaning on the other for emotional support. The amount of give and take should be broadly equal. Finally, recognize that it's normal to be close to certain friends for a time. Even if you drift away later, often friendship is born when we have things in common. We attend the same school, work in the same office, or live in the same neighborhood. When we lose our common ground, for example, when you get a different job and no longer see your coworker turned friend every day, the friendship may change. You may not have done anything wrong, of course. Just because your life or your friend's life is changing does not mean you have to lose the relationship. But you may have to put in extra effort to maintain it. The extroverted best friend I mentioned at the beginning of this chapter was my college roommate. Today our lives are very different from the way they were in college, and although we live in hours drive away from each other, we meet once a week in between our two cities for dinner. In closing, introvert may balk when they get invited to parties. They may wish their friends would stop texting for a while and leave them alone. It's true that certain types of socializing drain us, but introvert needs friends too. Because of our limited people energy, we don't let just anyone into our life, but we treasure the relationship we do have. If you are in our inner circle, know that you are very special to us. Chapter 7. Let's be awkward together. Dating for introverts. I walked into the noisy bar and immediately found the face I was looking for. He didn't look quite the same as he did in his dating profile, but no one ever did. He recognized me right away too, and I quickly became self-conscious. In what ways did I not measure up to my pictures? He bear hugged me and smiled warmly, then came to talk. How was your day? What do you like to do for fun? Where did you grow up? He fired off the question one after another in rapid succession. I tried my best to keep up my answer quickly and match his level of enthusiasm, and the night went on like this. And soon I became exhausted. My brain was no longer working. I tripped over my words. My sentences came out like molasses and didn't miss a thing. You have only had a one drink. He laughed when my speech slurred ever so slightly, and that was true. It was not the alcohol that was making me dumb. I was on the verge of an introvert hangover, and I was overstimulated by his high energy, along with the newness of the situation and a bar I had never been to, and a person I was not yet comfortable with. Eventually, we said an awkward goodbye and left the bar. Soon after, I got a text. It got a little awkward at the end, didn't it? But I know you are tired. Let's get together again this Friday. Still feeling self-conscious about this awkward more common, I plunged into the coffee shop on a Friday wearing a short pink dress. I was determined to be flirty and fun. This guy was everything I wanted, wasn't he? He was creative, interesting, and fun. He was a filmmaker who had built a successful business from scratch. And let's be honest, he was cute, really cute. I was not going to let my introvert tendencies sing my chance with him. We went to a nearby park, hiked a run, and got ice cream afterward. I was having a good time, but just like on our first date, social burnout struck. When he dropped me off at my apartment, I bolted from his car and into the quiet solitude of my apartment, where I lay on the couch in silence, recharging. This went on for several weeks. He wanted to hang out for 2 to 5 times a week, and I always at noisy restaurant, bars, or concert. I love being out of the house and doing things, he told me. When we met right after work, and our dates stretched well into the evening. Then I had to get up early in the next morning for work and do it all over again. Each time we got together, I was always the one to call it quits and head home because I was tired. He started to tease and that I didn't know how to have a good time, and once I got him to agree to a low-key dinner date at home, but he acted bored, as if he was just doing it to oblige me. The relationship lasted for about 2 months before it fizzled out. In retrospect, I was never my best self on those dates because I was almost always overstimulated. The way my mind and body reacted on our first few dates should have been a clue to me that as much as I liked the idea of a relationship with him, it was not right. I needed someone who would not just tolerate a night in a not not in but relish it. Someone who would understand that we don't need to chatter constantly to stay connected. Someone whose words and presence would energize me, not drain me. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that introvert and extrovert shouldn't be in relationship together. I have dated some extrovert whose company I really enjoy. I just to share this story with you because it taught me a lesson I will never forget. Whether introvert or extrovert, the right person for me is someone I feel good being around. Just highlight this point. The right person for me is someone I feel good being around. If you are a single introvert who is dating, you hold a special place in my heart because I know what you are going through. I have suffered years of awkward first dates, fleeing that went nowhere, unrequited love and serious heartbreak. On one hand, being single and dating was one of the most exhilarating and personally meaningful times of my life. I found myself growing and changing in ways I had never imagined as I met new people and had new experiences, but on the other hand, it was simultaneously the loneliest, most difficult period of my life. I worried that my introversion held me back, that I was too weird or quicker to be loved, that my high standard meant I would be forever alone. Many of the introverts I talked to when writing this chapter felt the same way. They worried that their introversion was more of a liability than an asset when it came to the dating game. If that's you, read on. You don't have to change who you are to find Mr. or Mrs. Right. What introvert want in a partner? What gets introverts going? To find out, I asked introverts to describe the qualities they want in a partner. I got over 200 answers, and the responses were as unique as the introvert who gave them. But there were a few things I heard over and over. Introvert wants someone who can hold a meaningful conversation with them, listens, respect their need for alone time, understand them, and appreciates their quirk, is intelligent as a meeting of the minds. Here is what some of them said in their own words. After being single for nearly 3 years following the very painful end of a marriage, I'm starting to feel ready to date again. I have dipped with my toe in the online dating pool, though I am not particularly hopeful that I will find someone who can truly understand and appreciate me. The first time around, I feel like I had to present a certain side of myself, the more extroverted, spontaneous side, which is me about 25% of the time, with lots of recharge time in between. My fantasy is to be with someone who can bring out that side of me while also respecting and cherishing my sensitivity and need for quiet and solitude. Claire. I find myself being attracted to introverts. One reason is that introverts tend to have a calm energy, a peaceful core that is in sync with my energy. Some extroverts, when I am around them, seem to have a more restless energy that runs counter to mine. Being around that kind of energy always makes me feel like I'm swinging against it as opposed to flowing with it. If you are an extroverted friend, I can handle it for however long we hang out, but having a potentially partner possessing that restless, extroverted energy might be too much for me to handle, too much friction. Also, so much of what I value most about life is connected to my introversion. Reading, writing, ruminating about favorite philosophical ideas, preferring a few close friends over many acquaintances all seem rooted to the essence of who I am. And being with someone who does not get any of that and is the complete opposite would be difficult. That being said, I don't want a carbon copy of myself. That would be get boring. I want someone to bring me out of my shell and expose me to new ideas and experiences. And certainly, extrovert can enjoy reading, writing, and other similarly introvert oriented activities. So I suppose it's just about finding the best match for you. Justin? I am all about inner qualities. I'm not focused on outward appearance since my focus is predominantly inward. I found someone who understands the mystery of my inner world. He has replaced what used to be my alone time with what I now craft instead as time. I can be myself and not hide any of my introversion. Angelica. I like a deep thinker, someone whom I could have a next level conversation with and who would not find it awkward. Taha. What qualities are on your list? If you are looking for a long-term partner, take a moment to think about what your significant other is like, but don't focus too much on qualities like sense of humor, likes to travel, and is at least 5 to 8. Instead, put qualities like emotional stability, integrity, empathy, reliability, and agreeableness at the top of your list. Why? Because research suggests that the most happily married people are those who, regardless of what they think they want in partner, simply end up with spouses who have excellent personality traits. In the long run, it may not matter that your date is carrying a few extra pounds or does not share your obsession with K-pop. If they are stable and cooperative, there is good chance you will be happy with your relationship decades later.